What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing Group and the Call Center Geek himself, Tom Laird.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center and contact center podcast, where we try to give you actionable items that you can take back to your call center, improve the overall quality, improve the agent experience, and hopefully the whole reason that we're here is to improve the actual customer experience. My name is Tom Laird. I am the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing. We are a 500-seat call center outsourcer located here in chilly northwestern Pennsylvania. The holidays are slowly fading, maybe quicker for some, but they seem like a distant relic right now. And now we're kind of in the dog days of at least here in the Northeast, kind of the winter. Not much snow, but dang, it's cold. So anyway, what we wanted to discuss today in a pretty packed episode, and this could be one of our longer episodes as well, is security in your call center. Huge topic. A lot of questions that come about of what I need to do, what are the minimums that I need from a security aspect. I get a lot of offshore guys calling me and asking me, and I'm like, guys, you're nowhere near where you need to be from a security standpoint to get any kind of USA customers. So for anyone who is nearshore, offshore, obviously here in the States, I think that this will be a pretty good episode. We're going to frame the discussion around PCI compliance, right, which is the credit card industry's kind of data security platform, or I guess set of rules, right, that you could say that you have to be kind of the minimum for dealing with credit cards, right? So I think if we kind of frame it around that discussion, any type of credit cards, if you're using, if you're housing, if you're storing, if you have customers that you're seeing customer data, I would even say, it's really important that you have certain security metrics and profiles set up in your call center here, especially going into 2020, to make sure that not only your organization is safe, but your associates are safe, and I think almost most importantly, too, your customers are safe. You don't want to have a breach, or you don't want to have anybody go rogue. So all these things that you can kind of put into place can help secure your contact center. So again, I could talk, this discussion could go on, and people have, week-long seminars just on PCI compliance. So I'm just going to try to frame it again around PCI, frame it around the call center security. So not an overall security plan. I'm going to talk at a pretty high level here. I'm not going to dig too far into the weeds, or we'd be here forever. But I'm going to frame it around really kind of 4 or 5, I guess, topics. One is physical security, digital security, fraud protection, on-call or real-time production security that you need when it comes to recording calls, those types of things, and then some of the policies and procedures that you really need to put in place. Because really, when it boils down, PCI, it's documenting a ton of stuff, right? It's having specific policies and procedures, and it's great to have those, but it's actually, you got to follow through on those as well. So, all right, let's dig into this, right? So the first thing I think is going to be, let's start with the easiest, I think most self-explanatory, and that's the physical security that you need in your call center. So, you need to have your doors locked into the call center floor. So whether that is swipe or a pneumatic keypad or biometric locks, however that is, only the people that need to be on that specific floor should be on that floor. So if you have a big call center, say if 50,000 square feet or 40,000 square feet, and you're broken down by either different clients, if you're a BPO, or just specific types of service that you're offering, if you're not doing and you don't need to be over here, then you shouldn't be over there. You should only be in kind of your area, making sure that your reps are where they are. One way to do that is every rep needs to have a name badge, right? And on that name badge needs to be picture, ID number, kind of the programs or what they're working on, so that, we have it color coded kind of what room you should be in. So if you have a red and a green, you shouldn't be in a room that's color coded yellow, that kind of thing. When it comes to cameras, we have cameras everywhere. I firmly believe that it protects the organization, and it also protects associates as well to have those cameras in your supervision, especially, maybe at times when there's not a lot of management here. Make sure that you have a specific policy, and a lot of people don't do this, and it can bite you. You have a policy, one, for filming your associates and recording them, and two, that you have a policy for recording them. A lot of you guys have a policy that says, yes, you can be monitored and your calls can be recorded, but even being recorded in a hallway or on the call center floor, make sure that they understand that, because I've seen people get bit when they have an issue with an associate. They have it on recording, but they didn't have any permission for that. So check your state for that as well. When it comes to your DMARC room, right? So the room that has all your switches, has all the kind of the wires, right, that go out to your call center floor. Your DMARC room should be locked at all times. I think that's pretty obvious. Only specific IT or management should have access to it. That's probably different than your server room, which has probably a ton of security. Making sure that is locked. Only certain people have access to it. People argue with me about this all the time, and I don't understand why, because you can't be PCI compliant if you're allowing cell phones on your call center floor. So again, don't say that you're PCI compliant. You could do all of this, but if you have somebody that's you having wearable technology and you're having cell phones on your call center floor and any type of digital technology, you're not. And in fact, I would say that's one of the most important things you can do today from a security aspect. Make sure that you have set places that your associates can go use their cell phone. But again, you guys know my policy, more my stance on it. It's seen or heard in our call center. If a cell phone is seen or heard, then it's a suspension. And then depending on your organization, I think background checks are important. That can have a little controversy with it as well. But just making sure that there's people that maybe you don't want that have committed fraud or committed robbery or even identity theft, things like that you probably should check, right? If you're working in the call center environment with a lot of that stuff. All right, the next aspect gets a little nerdy, right? And that's kind of the digital security. In what you need to have kind of set up on your computers. Although, the other thing is that, let me go back real quick on the physical security, and this kind of branches over into the digital, is your computer should be locked down, right? So there should only be certain websites that your reps can go to. They shouldn't be able to get any type of internal email, right? People argue about that, but internal email can be virused, and you're setting yourself up for a lot of security issues with that. And secondly, make sure that your USB drives, if you have any type of access points on the computer, that those are locked down as well. So nobody can put a USB drive in and download or take information out. So that's a really important piece. And that's kind of the bridge, I guess, to this next piece, which is kind of the digital security aspect. So number one, which I think is really important, is that you have enterprise virus protection on each computer. So you can have an overall, like on your firewall, right? That's great, but every single computer should have its own. We use Sophos, right? And basically we have a screen that's set up, and anytime that an update doesn't get run, and that's another topic that we're going to touch here in a second, but a specific update on a virus protection, or if it senses that there is a virus, or if something's coming in, it blocks it, takes it away, goes to our server. We have a report that then kind of sends an email out, and we can make sure that we either have to lock that computer down or see what happened. So enterprise, really good virus protection will save you. Pay for it. Don't go cheap. Don't get anything free. Pay for it, and it will benefit you, and it will save you so much time and money. Obviously, you need specific firewall protections. I am not nerdy enough. I'm pretty nerdy. But when it comes to that stuff, we have our IT guys that deal with that. But from our firewall, they're blocking a lot of the internet stuff, right? That comes in. We're blocking specific websites and things through our firewall as well. So that's, one of the protections that we have. Here's something that I bet you most of you are doing that is such a security issue. And we were doing it for a while, and we fixed it over the last couple of years, is single sign-on for each rep. So you probably have, to your telephony platform, you have your own username and password. To your CRM, username and password. But how do you actually log in? When you turn the computer on and you get that window screen, right, for most of you, are you using one login for everybody? And if you are, that's a huge security issue. It's a big pain in the rear, but you got to get to the point where you're using, individual sign-ons for each of the computers. And that gets hard when you get a ton of people, right? I get it, 500, 600 people. But you can do some things programmatically. So we have done that with InContact. So we've kind of married the logins, right? So our InContact login is the same as the computer login. When that password expires on both systems. So that's important. We have a help desk. And again, if you're a smaller call center, you're not going to have a help desk, right? But you have to have something that you're documenting issues that are happening in your ticketing system. So if you have to give something to your IT, that can be an email, that can be whatever form. I like Slack as well. Like if you're small, you can use Slack and just have an IT kind of channel that you can kind of put that stuff into. But I'm not going to get deep into this, but when it comes to your help desk ticketing, that goes into your change management as well. So it's really important that any type of changes, and this is from a PCI standpoint, any changes that you make programmatically, so new versions of your software, new implementations of integrations, all that stuff needs to be documented, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or whether you're using kind of an enterprise system like we are. It needs to be, a really regimented process so that you know what happened and you can look back if something goes wrong. The other big important thing with this is update management, right? So making sure that all of your systems have all the Windows updates that they need when they need. I bet you a lot of you don't, right? And if you go and you do a Windows update, it's going to take a while. What I would suggest is that tonight, it's Friday, if you guys are listening to this, or over the weekend, if you have a lower head count, a lot of you don't, but at a certain time, you have to run Windows updates on all your computers. So again, we have a system, and there's systems out there that just kind of shoot them all out, and they update them as they go, as new updates come. But for most of you smaller guys, make sure that you're staying up on your Windows updates. The other thing that I would highly suggest and that you really need to be PCI is to get a third party involved from a penetration testing standpoint. So quarterly, we have security metrics that tries to actually penetrate our firewall and get into our platform and get into our network. And they do that once a month, and then we see what IP addresses we have open, make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, and that we're secure from an outside standpoint of people trying to get into our network. So, you need some help if you don't have that from a PCI standpoint, but you really want to get into to looking at a third party to help you kind of guide you. At least if you say, listen, I can't afford, which probably shouldn't be in business if you can't afford to be PCI compliant. But if you say, hey, we're really small, we don't really deal with too many credit cards, we do deal with customer data, what can we do to be more secure? Get a third party in there and kind of have some of these protocols helpfully set up for you. Let's talk about on-call security. So when I mean on-call, what are some of the policies and procedures you should be doing when a rep is actually on the phone, right? Most of you are recording 100% of your calls, which we are too, and that's from a QA standpoint. But you should also make sure that either you are on the recording, right? You're only taking the last 4 digits of the credit card number of any account information or social security number. If you can't, and I know a lot of you can't, and we have programs too that we can't, then we mask. And make sure that you understand the masking piece. In most telephony platforms, InContact, Five9, Genesis, all of them have that piece where literally the rep can either press a button and it goes away, or there's actually software that can kind of tell, right, and kind of mask on your own as the call's happening. So that software is there. If you're dealing with a lot of credit card information and you're not masking, and all of those either social security numbers or credit card numbers are on your servers, you're opening yourself up for a ton of pain. So I would tell you 2 things. 1, make sure that you're masking. And 2, any type of credit card or customer data, get it off your system as much as you possibly can. So any type of purging that you can do to get credit card information, customer data off of your servers, if you can. And I get if it's a CRM and you have to keep your customer data there. But if you're doing any type of other processing, make sure that you're limiting as much as you possibly can. And I know for some of those, that's kind of in the back of your mind, but it'll bite you, right? It'll bite you. So make sure that you're kind of staying on with that. The other thing is you want to try to process credit card payments at the time, right? You don't want to wait and batch them until later. Like that's a process that is old and done. So some of them, and some of our clients, we're still doing that with, right? Because that's kind of how, and we have we take the credit card information, we have an API that directly goes, and it goes to their system, and then they do it. So, I mean, we're kind of in between there, but you don't want to take a bunch of credit cards, get them on your system, and then go batch file them or go send them all at once, right? Again, you're setting yourself up for having too much credit card information on your servers and opening yourself up for some security issues. So if you can anyway, process credit card payments at the time, all right? And then you can kind of delete or kind of get rid of the credit card information. The other thing too, and I have here in my notes, two-factor authentication. Everybody, for me, it's kind of a pain, but if you think about it, it's pretty cool. So if you are in a customer service department and a customer's calling in and saying, "Hey, I forgot my password," right? You really need to start to get into the two-factor authentication and not just saying, "Hey, what's your name, social security number, and address?" And okay, you have all that. Well, here's your account number. Right, the phishing is just it's too great of an issue now. So you need to be able to use their cell phone, use their email to send them something to make sure that it's them from that standpoint, and then you can kind of go through another security protocol to get them their password or to reset their password or to give them their account information. Can't be lazy with this stuff. It's super painful. I get it, right? And think about this as a BPO, as a call center outsourcer. Every client we have has different security needs and also security thresholds that they want, met. So we have to be here at all times, right? We have to be at the top level, and that way we can make sure that we're always on top of it. But some of you guys are at that bottom level, or just you're doing the minimum stuff. Right, make 2020 kind of the year that you're going to kind of push and implement a couple of these every single time, that this topic comes up. You need to keep pushing it with your management team to implement some of these security things. The biggest pain in the rear as well, right? But it's really important, is making sure that you have policies for everything. And I'm not going to go through all the policies because there's so many of them that it may blow your mind, and I don't want to scare you off. But go to the PCI. Or go to a third-party website that deals with PCI compliance. See the policies and procedures that you need to have, and you need to have on file to make sure that you're covering your butt and you're covering everything in your contact center. So everything from a security policy, from a data security policy, from a change management to internet settings. There's so many different things that you have to think through. Get the policy, get some help online with, and then go through the implementation in your contact center. The last piece that I want to kind of talk about is kind of the fun's a bad word, but the technology that is out there too. So this kind of goes with on the call, and we're trying to not only protect our clients, customers, organizations, associates from all of this from a security standpoint, but we also have to protect the organization, right? So people, we know that they try to do phishing schemes. They try to have some fraudulent information, that they're trying to get information and try to scam you. So some of the things that you can do, right? And these are some of the things that we're doing right now. So one, and I've talked about this a little bit, is speech analytics. So you can set specific categories up in speech analytics to search for certain things. Here's an example, and I think I've used it before. We had a client who had their internal call center. They had fraud in their internal call center when one of their reps was scheming with their cousin who didn't work there, and she would give information to the cousin. The cousin would call in and say, "Hey, my name is Mrs. Smith. Here's all my information. Can you change my address, and can you send me a new debit card out?" Right? And so they were doing this for months and months and months and just defrauding the organization. So when they came to us, they said, hey, how do we not do this? Well, one of the first things that we did with that is we set up categories in speech analytics. And we said, hey, if any customer ever says on this account, send me new debit card, send new card, and change address, change my address, any of those type of phrases, and we can do and ors, that those calls will get flagged, right? And so we look at that every single day. And if any of those come up, boom, we pull it up, we listen, we find out who it is, we go through the whole account, and we have another layer of protection for the client, and that you can have as well, for just listening to what's going on the calls. The other thing is it's a little bit more expensive, but from us, it's going to be available really in the cloud from a nice and context standpoint is voice authentication, right? So basically a customer calls in, kind of opts in for voice authentication. Servers listen to them, and then we get a make sure that the next time that they call in, when we kind of play their voice, that it's actually them. It's number one, it's much easier for the customer because we don't have to go through that painful verification that we all do. What's your social security number? What's your date of birth? What's your firstborn son's name? Right? All that kind of stuff. Mother's maiden name. We don't have to do that. And also we have a level of security that's beyond, what we can do, because we're actually getting down to kind of biometric type data. And that's where the AI and all that kind of stuff kind of comes in, where that technology is. So voice authentication, if you are in any type of financial services, you got to look at it, or you got to go to a BPO like us, right? That has that technology. And then some of the easy things that you guys can do too, if you don't have this technology, is look at the ANI, right? And the ANI is the phone number that's called, right? If you can get to the same rep, right, through maybe your tree, your IVR tree, if the same rep or even the same ANI is constantly being dialed, right? A lot of these guys aren't smart. We've been able to catch people they're constantly calling and using their same cell phone number. And when we see that over the last 30 days that they've called, 45 times, we're asking questions. So check that. Look at your ANI. Look at the reps that are on there. But really just you can kind of get some of that information and glean some of that as well from people who have been calling in. So that's kind of, I think where I want to stop. I have a couple more things that we could get into, but I don't like making these episodes more than 20, 25 minutes. I want to make them kind of quick for you guys. So again, framing this as if you're PCI compliant, most of the check blocks that you need to be secure for your organization are going to be there. Again, we can go to other layers of certifications like HIPAA, right? And HIPAA is for healthcare. Different kind of level, and then you kind of mix both a little bit. The security guys hate when I say that, but for a SOC 2, and kind of look at that is kind of an overall protocol for your organization as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can protect yourself. The biggest thing that we see is people just being lazy with it, saying it won't happen to me. If you're saying that, it's probably going to happen. There's so many things that you can do, right? Just off the top, even if you're not trying to be PCI, but you need to be secure from a physical standpoint, making sure that you have cameras, making sure that you have reps in the right places, making sure that people sign in when they come in here. From a digital standpoint, locking down the computers, making sure that they can only go on certain internet sites, looking at single sign-on, right? Little things like that are really, really, really important. I can't say enough about not being cheap on virus protection. Looking at, your on-the-call stuff. So, one of the things, again, don't record 100% and leave credit card information on your servers, on your, whether it's voice or text, right? Making sure that you're taking steps there to mask all that stuff. Looking maybe at new technology like voice authentication to get you through another layer of protection. And then, guys, policies and procedures will save your rear. They're a pain, but you got to do them. You got to look through it. Get a committee together. Look at your security policies. Look at your procedures, and try to go through what you guys have and what you guys don't have. And again, check that out. And you can. There's so many resources online that I'd be failing miserably if I tried to help you more with that. All right, so that's what I got for you guys from a security standpoint. I want to go into a couple real quick housekeeping things. I want to thank everybody for joining who has joined the community, right? We're up to almost 50 members. I know that sounds lame, but we were at 10 like 2 weeks ago. So again, Advice from a Call Center Geek community. It's different than the Advice from a Call Center Geek Facebook page, but go on there, join. I will instantly allow you to become a member. And I love if those of you who are listening that are members, let's start some discussions up. I just did a little thing on there, right? Anybody who posts something that's going to get at least 5 to 10 comments, I'll send you a free book. I'm doing anything I can to not make me be the voice of that. I want you guys to kind of be the voice of that. Also, please go on to our Advice from a Call Center Geek YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, we're posting a daily call center tip of the day. We have like 16, 17 right now. I think it's really going to help you. I mean, I'm going to have literally like 500 of them, right? So by the end of this year, we should have almost 400 with 365 days. A lot of tips, videos like this. Like right now, I'm recording the podcast. So if you want to see me in my Friday dress down, it's there as well. Plus, we're doing a lot of internal things. Like we just did a roundtable meeting with our reps where we talked about what are some cool things to talk to and tell new supervisors. I'm going to go put some GoPro cameras on my supervisors so that you can see the first 30 minutes and actually how they do it. So there'll be some really cool and I think unique content there as well. So again, guys, thank you. Thank you for listening. I'm at the 25-minute mark, so I'm going to peace out, and I will talk to all of you guys next week.